Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto all of y'all, whether you're religious or not. Welcome to the virtual class, virtual coaching, a glimpse of what I'll be teaching at the nonprofit organization. This is leadership development. Leadership development first is the mindset. That is key. Second, are you operating off of a fixed mindset? Because if you are, it's going to be hard for me to teach you some of the techniques that I have utilized for myself, that I have learned from others in regards to leadership development. Now, if you have a growth mindset, which is you are eager to learn, then you would pick up on the jewels of wisdom that I am sharing with you. Leadership development. Leadership development. Leadership is a process. Directing productive activities, defending the group against external threats, maintaining group cohesion, both role and a process, rank and a person in a group. Leaders define reality. Leaders, you are a leader. You are your own leader. Create visions. Leaders create visions. Leaders develop strategies. When leaders create a vision, it's a clear vision. When leaders develop a strategy, it's well thought out. When leaders enlist cooperation, it's clear direction or plans. And motivating plan of action is what is communicated. See, live as if you were living already for the second time. And as if you acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. That is a quote by Viktor E. Frank. So effective leaders rally people. The effective leaders know how to engage people. Effective leaders find a way to uniqueness, know how to utilize words, actions, images, discover what is universal. The symbiosis discipline take time to reflect, think, muse, ruminate. Select your heroes with great care of who you look up to and who you want to model after. People who performers that you are in awe with that you would like to model after. Practice your words, utilizing words, images, and stories. Yeah, in the arts of public speaking, you already know that there are four types of speech, right? There is the art of persuasion, that is being factual, that is being impromptu and humorous. The 7C, letter C words involve clear, complete, concise, convincing, correct, courteous, and credible. The rating system for those performing presentation by making either good, fair, or poor the categories, gestures, demeanors, tone of voice, presentation, and the subject matter. During the presentation, one should always utilize a blackboard, always utilize your notes as a guide. Now, communication in general, right? Utilizing verbal economics, verbal currency, verbal judo, the art of communication, the art of speaking, the art of articulation, enunciating your words, being concise and precise, utilizing sources when you're speaking to give credibility to what you're saying, learning the 13 different logical fallacies that we have, which I will explain to you at some point in time, but not today. And as you being a public speaker, look at every engagement where you speak as being public speaking. Is you must avoid these characteristics: excessive intensity, because an abundance of behavioral force used in presentation of a communication message may distort the message. So excessive intensity is not good. When you're being too loud, when we shout at each other, the sheer assault on the eardrums may cause the listener to focus on the volume and therefore lose the message. Inadequate intensity seems to have no feelings or emotion about what is being said. Inappropriateness often creates a barrier founded in the embarrassment of the listener, who will respond by simply tuning the speaker out. Inability to use feedback for a corrective purpose. This is when we don't modify what we say or how we say, but when we have feedback indicating misunderstanding or lack of comprehension or overreaction to the message. So this characteristic of inability to use feedback for corrective purpose, for example, paraphrasing when you're communicating, utilizing active listening so you paraphrase to make sure that you understand what the other individual is actually saying, and also let the other person know that you're listening to what they're saying. Don't rambling. The speaker has a tendency to go on and on and on. That is to wander from his or her essential message, from the claim, from the premise, to be diverted into detours, to verbalize and associate notions that may or may not be relevant. This can seriously impede communication unless it's utilized with a technique and a strategy. Do not speak too fast, do not give too much. Referring not to actual pronunciation and delivery of the words, but to the content of the speech. We mean that the movement from one idea to another is too rapid. Don't speak too slow or not enough. A speaker creates obstacles to communicate when he or she fails to provide enough information for the listener to grasp what is actually being said. That's why you must be comprehensive. Contrary attitudes, the listener. We all have prejudice, attitudes, stereotypes, and once in a while, we find ourselves in communication, interaction with speakers whose positions are contrary to our own. To overcome these barriers, a high level of tolerance, understanding, and personal poise is required of every listener. Jump into conclusions. It is not good to jump to conclusions. Listeners are less likely to get the full message. When they decide what is to be said before it is said, thus, if the listener is unable to hear or to review the facts and only make judgments about what is being said, he or she is less likely to get the basic message. Now, another bad characteristic is acceptance of the speaker. One of the more obvious obstacles, and yet one of the most subtle, is related to personal acceptance of the speaker. A statement attributed to a source of law credibility is usually perceived as much more biased and unfair than an identical statement issued from a source of high credibility. Hostility. Hostility begets hostility. When we become aware in another person of hostility directed towards us, most of us respond with at least potential hostility. We instinctively become alert, prepared to take self-defense action in response to threats. Hostility in any interpersonal interaction is almost immediately compounded by the response to it. Whenever it appears, hostility works in both directions to block and even to destroy communication. As leadership